Welcome to The Joyful Frugalista, the podcast that's all about living a richer life with less. I'm your host, Serena Bird, author and passionate frugalista. Each episode, we dive into inspiring stories, practical tips and joyful conversations that help you create abundance, embrace mindful spending, and live your best life, all without breaking the bank. So grab a cuppa, get comfy, and let's explore how being a frugalista can lead to freedom, happiness, and a whole lot of joy. This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only and does not constitute financial advice. Please consult a qualified professional before making financial decisions. Hello and welcome to today's episode. Today I'm joined by Gemma Mitchell, financial advisor, wealth coach, host of the Australian Finance Podcast, and author of The Money Reset, Take Control of Your Money and Life. Gemma's work is all about helping people rebuild their financial lives after major life changes, whether it's divorce, job loss, burnout, or simply that moment when they realise their current money story isn't working anymore. So welcome, Gemma, and a big congratulations on your book.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here. I've been a fan of the podcast for a long time, so it's nice to be on this side of it.
Thank you. That's really lovely to hear. And I enjoyed your book so much. It really struck a chord with me because of its authenticity. So it's not just, how to get a Lamborghini by the time you're, graduate high school. It's
20.
I mean, if some people might achieve that, and good luck to them if that's their goal and they achieve that, it's not a criticism, but you really do talk a lot about rebuilding after life's curveballs, and you're really honest about where you've been through. So what were some of the sort of challenges that you went through, and what are the sort of common financial challenges you help coach other people through as they face these transitions?
Yeah, so it's really hard because I was, I've been a financial advisor and a money coach, for 15 plus years. And so I've always helped people with big life transitions, whether it's retirement, which is a huge, the need for a huge reset on how you kind of manage every aspect of your life, even your money mindset, how you work your bank accounts. So to help people with that, work through divorces, all of these types of things. And so when it came to my turn, I got divorced, I got separated at 37, I was like, I've got this. And it was just so hard. And I really had to reflect on why it was so hard. And it was because I had all the theory, but I didn't have the emotional hurdles and that just spiral, like from day to day being so like in a different emotional place that you can't do just simple little tasks that you need to do. And so the book came out of it, of me going, why is this so hard to do when I've been coaching people for so long? Why is it so hard for me to do? And, not everybody can afford to have a one-on-one coach or know where to go. So we've got the podcast, I do the coaching, I do group sessions, and the book started as an ebook. So that it was just some other resource for like my clients to use. And then, started working with a publisher. But I think how I felt and how most of the clients in these big transitions feel when they come to me is they feel stuck. They feel unsure about what options are even available, what they should be considering. We have like this analysis paralysis. Everyone has an opinion on what we should be doing. And it's just like, right, what do I actually do? And I talk a lot about it in the book is if you've had a major life shift, like a divorce like mine, or maybe it's a job loss or a sickness, maybe you can't even imagine what life looks like in 3 months, let alone 3 years or 30 years. So how do you actually plan? So that it just comes down to this feeling of being stuck, not knowing what life's going to look like, not knowing what your options are, and then just totally overwhelmed. So that is how I absolutely felt and how so many of my clients feel.
It's hard when you're in crisis, I think. It's hard to have that, let's plan for 5 years when you don't know what you're doing from one day to the next.
Exactly. And one thing in finance that, we always talk about in finance, having goals and having really clear goals, because you have to have a goal to work towards it. And I was always on that page. I was like, yes, you need goals. And I still believe that. But after going through that, I have totally changed my approach on that. Like, you don't need to have goals to be able to move forwards. What you need to do is be doing everything in your capacity to move forwards and build, so that the minute you get a goal or you decide what life wants to look like, you're already on your way. So I talk about all these little steps, but yeah, I was always so big on, well, you need to know what you're working towards. And now I'm like, I'm a bit of a contradiction, because I still believe it, but I'm also like, it's okay not to know. It's okay not to have it all figured out.
Yeah, look, I hear you. When I was going through separation, in my case due to domestic violence, my saying was one day at a time, one thing at a time, because I had well-meaning people would say, you should be thinking about whether you're going to stay in the family home, or you should be thinking about, care for your kids, or you should be thinking about this, that. And it was just like, it was too daunting. In those initial stages, I just couldn't deal with those longer term things. So bringing it back to the present and thinking about what I could do day to day sort of worked in that circumstance for me.
Worked exactly for me as well. I remember, I talk about it in the book as well. I remember, like, I've always had huge financial goals, a spreadsheet that planned them out meticulously. And when I was going through that separation, lawyers and things were getting involved, different conversations were happening. I had no idea of where things were going to land or what options. So my girlfriends convinced me to do a vision board. And I was never a vision board person. I was like, no, I'm a spreadsheet person. And so I did this vision board. It was really hard, but I came to like 3 words, and it was like, okay, I just want to be happier, healthier, and wealthier. And every day I'm going to do one thing that ticks those boxes. And it could be like something absolutely tiny, like coffee with a friend. I worked on my business. I went for a walk. Like some days it was just like, I got out of bed. But it was just like, what tiny step have you done towards a life that's going to have all of those? And it wasn't, for the first time in my life, it wasn't a financial goal, a saving or investing goal. It was just like, just get out of bed and do one of these things that will make you happier, healthier, and eventually wealthier, when you know what that looks like.
And it worked.
It worked. It's still my vision board. It's up there. It's on my screensaver.
Yeah, my vision board's behind me.
Yeah, so now I'm converted. I'm a big vision board person. I'm always going to still be a spreadsheet person, but I've got a bit more balance now in my planning and my vision for my life.
We're definitely going to talk about your goals and how to set the big visions, but yeah, I totally get where you're coming from, because I know when I went through separation, I had gone from being, very proud of having a number of investment properties and really tracking all that net worth. I also had an end of month spreadsheet. And for a long time, it just felt so painful to look at that. I mean, in part because it was messy, it was difficult. There were legal fees, there were all sorts of things that were disrupting the momentum. But also it was just very emotive, and that all those feelings of like, oh my God, am I going to lose everything? Like all that fear and, all that guilt and shame and, different sorts of emotions, worrying I was going to be a failure, all those sorts of things.
I was exactly the same. Like if we think about what money represents to us, it's our safety, it's our security. It also we shouldn't, but we tie a lot of our self-worth to it. And I was exactly the same. When I was in my marriage and I've got kids, I always felt this enormous pressure that we had to be financially okay, and I had to make sure we were financially very fit, because I do this for a living. And so then going through that, that process and having kind of all that safety and security taken away, or just not know how it was going to land, was really, really scary. But when I talk to people about this, I call it the slingshot moment. And it's like, yes, you may be taking a big step back, and it might not look like how it looked before, but that's okay. Think of it as a slingshot. You've got to pull back to get momentum. But so if it is a divorce, for example, you then hold the reins. You have total control. When you know what that start line is, you have total control of your decisions, how you do things, the goals, the values you want to bring in. So there's something really, really empowering about that. Absolutely scary. It's very, very daunting. But there's something very empowering when you can change your mindset around that and see these moments as a slingshot. Easier said than done, but the book kind of goes through, well, how do you actually do that? And how do you reframe that very scary, uncertain time into something that could actually be amazing for you and, the catalyst for you changing your whole life direction?
I just love that so much. It's just such a powerful imagery that you've put out there. And I guess I used to tell myself that when you're in a happy place, abundance will come. Like it's pretty hard to sort of be planning the next, unicorn startup when you're dealing with an unhappy situation, because like all of your energy is going into dealing with that unhappiness and getting yourself out of it. And it's really hard for you to have the self-confidence to take risks. But I think you've just nailed it with that. Like it's just beautiful imagery.
Yeah, no, it definitely helped me. That's how I think of it, and like I'm nowhere near rebuilt like to where I was or where I would want my wealth and my life, and I'm 3 years out, but I'm still so motivated and like inspired by the thought of, well, I have total control over it, and all of these amazing opportunities have come up, and and it's just it's that healthier, happier, wealthier that I'm working towards.
It does happen. I promise you. I'm 11 years out, and I had a defining moment just to share. This is your podcast, you talking about your book, but if you'll allow me to indulge, 5 years out
please.
To the date from when I filed for a domestic violence order, and I'd sort of forgotten about the date a bit, and I was promoting my first book, The Joyful Frugalista, and I was sitting in the studios at Channel 10 getting my makeup done, and I suddenly realised it had been 5 years since I'd left, and I just sort of went, oh, wow, and all those sorts of things I wouldn't have been able to do before. So definitely a slingshot. So it's an opportunity to recreate the best version of yourself.
Yeah, and like I really struggled with writing the book because I wanted to have this like inspiring, like, hey, this is such a cool opportunity, like let's reframe it like this. But I know that people picking up the book might actually be going through the biggest shakeup of their life, whether that's an internal awakening of what am I doing? That feels terrible, or it might be sickness, might be divorce, they might have lost a partner. And I'm like, so how do I balance this, like writing about this as an opportunity, but knowing that not everybody wants to be here and is like going through a really dark time. So it was challenging to write. But it was exactly how I was feeling and how the book that I want, my girlfriends to have and my clients to have and that I needed.
It's a gift for other people. And so in your book, you outlined this 12-step plan for a financial reset. Now, I'm not going to put you on the spot and make you list all 12 in order. But, what was your thinking with needing this structured plan, and what are some of the key points in this plan?
Yeah, so I wanted it to be a resource ideally, I want people to read it start to finish and just focus on one step at a time and not think I need to go 0 to 100. You just do step 1 and then you do step 2 when you have capacity and then you do step 3. I wanted it to be super simple, but then also with the steps, like it says in the front of the book, how you can use this book. You can go through it in order and get it all done and, great. But you might not have capacity. You might just be at your absolute limit, and maybe something is keeping you up at night. Maybe it's your spending, or it's your superannuation, or it's some like insurance or whatever. So just go to that chapter and you can just pick it up at that chapter and just do it. So I wanted it really clearly defined so that, ideally you do it all while you're ready and you go through all the practical steps. But I didn't want it just to be another thing that people had to do when their plates are already heavy. So you can just pick it up and go to the chapter that you are losing sleep over and just sort that one out.
No, well said, because yes, but it doesn't feel, having read your book, it doesn't feel, while it is very structured, that it's overwhelming. Like it's very clear what the chapters are about.
Yeah.
And it's sort of designed that you could potentially say do 1 week at a time and do it over 12 weeks, or you could do it over a year. You could do 1 per month, or you could do it self-paced.
And it is super simple stuff. This was also really challenging because when I talk about finance and stuff, I kind of feel like I need to give everybody all the knowledge, like everything that I know. But trying to pull that back in, thinking that, no, this person's just gone through something really, really tough. We need to just strip it back to the absolute basics. This isn't going to get them the Ferrari or whatever, the Lamborghini. It's more like, let's get you sleeping at night.
Depending on the divorce payout, but anyway. Depending on who you married.
But it was just like, what are the basics that you need to know? Like, what are the basics just to get you back on your feet and things ticking along? And then when you've done all that, then maybe the next book you read is how to make $1 million or how to, grow your business or whatever. But let's just get your foundations right, your confidence back, clarity on your situation, and then you go and build and do all the exciting things that you want to do.
Yeah, most definitely. And there are all those big decisions. I mean, I talked before about whether or not to stay in the family home, but that is a really real and immediate issue for a lot of people, their accommodation.
Absolutely. That comes back to our safety, security. So there's a whole chapter. It's called Planning Your Property Path. And it talks about, do you stay in the family home? What if you fought so hard? Because this is something I see. People fight so hard for the family home and then they get it, but it doesn't actually align with their life. Maybe it's got terrible memories there. Maybe they took on a mortgage that means that they're really struggling in other areas.
Yeah.
So I kind of talk about, throughout the whole book, the theme is financial flexibility. Like whatever decisions you make right now while things are messy and unclear, is they have to move the needle forwards to making life better, but keep that flexibility. So the minute life shifts, you can shift. So we talk about, if you did fight for the family home, should you stay in it? Should you rent it? Should you sell it? How can you make that decision? And when do you need to make it by? Like, is this something that you make a rash decision on, or can you wait on it for a little while? And there's all that activities kind of throughout it to help you navigate those decisions. But yeah, the family home's a huge one. Like I talk about, so my ex got our family home, and that was really important to me that one of us did, but it made sense for him to have it. And the kids have only known that home, and, he can look after a big home, and I travel a lot for work. And so I went into a rental, but I honestly think I always thought I would be back in my own a family home very quickly. It's been 3 years that I've been renting. I would never have imagined that I would still be renting 3 years later, but it really suits me. And I love my little rental, and I have investment properties. I've got shares, different things. So I'm building wealth in a way that suits me and the flexibility that I want in my life right now. But yeah, I would have never guessed that I wouldn't be, being a homeowner again.
It's hard decisions that people have to make. And, the reality is that your circumstances have changed. So you do have to make decisions.
Yeah. And, it comes back to that feeling stuck as well, so I decided that I would get an investment property and things. I didn't want to sit on the sidelines waiting to work out, maybe I'd meet somebody, maybe I'd decide to buy a family home, whatever. I just decided, right, what's in my capacity to do to build wealth, to build flexibility? How can I move forward so that when life shifts and I decide, I've got more options, I'm closer to my goal than if I just sat on the sidelines waiting to go, got to figure out what I want. I just decided, no, this is within my capacity. That will get me closer to flexibility, choice down the track. So that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, exactly. And what about superannuation? So, how does this play out in your experience with a lot of your clients? Are a lot of your clients really aware about superannuation and the importance?
I would say it is an afterthought for most people that I see. I think people just don't think of it as their money. And I do a lot of work around super. I'm a massive superannuation nerd. We'll talk to anyone that'll listen about superannuation. But I want people to know that super is their money, and it's one of the biggest assets most of us will have in our life. And it's something that you can just have ticking along in the background, working well for you while you do prioritize all the other stuff that is we're stressed about groceries, we're stressed about home loans, what we're doing with our houses, our living situations. But super is something that we do need to make sure that we're treating like our money. That money's been swiped out of our hard working, we've worked for that. It's been swiped out of our pay. So we need to treat it like that. Even if it's just one check in a year, just to make sure things are ticking along. And then you can focus on the day-to-day stuff, your spending habits, all of the stuff that is, keeping you up at night potentially, and that you can work on daily stuff. But your super is just so, so important. And I really need to stress to everybody that you want to treat it like your money. It's very cool these days to be a share investor and have, ETFs or whatever it is, and be building up a share fund. Maybe it's micro investing or whatever. But your super is a share portfolio in your name. So if you've been working in Australia, you're already an investor. There's money sitting there that you can choose how it's invested. the risk, all of that type of stuff. So super is a really big one that I make sure people get the basics set up. There's a whole chapter around that, so that when that's ticking along, you can then focus on the other stuff that's actually, front of mind every single day.
Fabulous. And yeah, I'm a big fan of super too. One of my regrets is that I didn't understand just how good my superannuation scheme was. Initially, I'm on a government scheme which has a defined benefit attached to it.
Defined benefits,
Yeah,
yes.
right. My husband's got an even better scheme than I do.
Yes, in my time in financial planning, I've seen some very, very good defined benefit outcomes. But yeah, I don't think people realize how much control they actually have over their super. Like a lot of the time I'll hear people say, oh, I'm thinking about getting a self-managed super fund because I want control. I'm like, well, do you know, have you ever changed your investment strategy within your fund? How often do you contact the fund at the moment? And they're just like, oh, no, I didn't know that I could do that. I'm like, well, a lot of the time the control you're seeking you could potentially be getting in the other fund just to dip your toe in the water, to learn more about it. And that doesn't need to be the solution. That does suit some people, but not everybody. And first you need to understand how your fund works and how super works before you take on that huge, huge responsibility and cost.
Well said. So one of the themes you explore in your book is emotional resilience. So how does our mindset then affect our financial decisions? So we spoke before about being in crisis mode and how it is difficult to make decisions. But what then happens to the financial decisions we do make?
Yeah, so our mindset, so the stories we tell ourselves, either subconsciously or consciously sometimes, about money, like our beliefs that we have around money, they impact our decisions so much. So they impact how we behave with money, and then that behavior creates an outcome, whether it's good or bad. It can help or hinder us. But everybody has a little bit of these kind of conflicting, well, in my experience, most people have a few different conflicting kind of personalities with money. They might have a little bit of scarcity mindset, that they never have enough or they worry about certain things. They might have a bit of abundance, that YOLO kind of, there might be some things that they are more happy to spend on and, really have that abundance mindset. It's not about rewriting your money mindset or these stories, your behavior with money overnight. It's just about being aware of it and aware of how it then impacts your decisions. So, it might be that we tell ourselves that we're not good with money, and we might be doing, so one really common one that I see actually is there's lots of behaviours that look good, like they look like you're good with money, but they could actually be doing a lot more damage. So
I love this in your book, actually. Yes.
So one of them is if you are a saver personality and you're constantly putting, say you're trying to save $500 a pay into your savings account, but then you're constantly pulling some out of it. You've set the bar too high. So every time you've dipped into that, you're telling yourself, oh, I'm not good at saving. I'm not good at money. Even like your brain is just, you're like processing these thoughts that is telling yourself subconsciously that you've failed. Whereas you would be better to set the bar lower and say, I'm going to do half that amount. And at the end of the pay cycle, I've got $20 left or 50. I'm going to put that into it. And then you're telling your brain, look how good I am at saving for future me. And you get that reward, not the failure feeling. So just things like that. I think often we think we're doing good habits, but they can be really sabotaging us. And it's just about, you don't have to rewrite your mindset and your behaviors overnight. You have to be aware of them and then just kind of pick yourself up while you're doing them and go, should I be doing this? Is it helping? Is it hindering?
Well said. And yeah, I've totally done that in the past. Not recently, but it's a problem then when you're taking money out of a high interest account because you might be, for instance, losing the benefit of the interest or other things.
Yeah, absolutely. And like another one I see really common is when people learn how an offset account works, how it can save you interest, which is a great thing, can save you interest off your home loan. But then if they only have one offset, they lump everything into it and they lose that transparency, the clarity over, well, what's money for bills? What's, have I got set aside for rates and rego? What's my holiday money? And they can actually go backwards and it can be really, really messy. And it's like, well, that's a good financial habit to save interest on your home loan, but it's actually hindering you being able to move forward. So it's a balance. There's what looks good on paper or on a spreadsheet, and then there's how it actually helps you in real life.
Definitely a balance. So I want to talk about this treat yourself culture, and you refer to this in your book. So it's quite common now to hear this term. Anytime I go on a cruise ship, there's like, treat yourself to a massage, treat yourself to the spa. I was recently in a cafe and there was a big photo with all these very decadent sort of desserty drinks. Treat yourself. So it feels sometimes a bit like you're a bit of a Scrooge if you refuse to treat yourself, especially when everyone around you is going, go on, you deserve it, treat yourself. But like, what are the bigger financial problems with often adopting this treat yourself mentality?
We see this a lot, and it's really hard because we're bombarded with, social media and different things that show people living their best lives. But it is so important to prioritize future you as well as you today. So money is just a tool. It's a tool for you to have safety, security, live the life you want to do. Like, there's no point hoarding it, right? But we want to make sure that we're also balancing between wants, needs today and future us. It's just all about balance. And I really struggle with this as well. I absolutely do. I find that I either am a bit YOLO, or I'm like, no, I shouldn't be spending, and then I get some guilt around spending because that's like the money mindset's kind of that I struggle with. But it is so important that we balance future us, and how I think you can do that is by setting kind of limits. So maybe you have discretionary spending that is not allocated for anything. Like, it's not like $7 on a coffee and $4 on a croissant. It's just, hey, this is my no questions asked, no guilt money for this week. And I get people to put that into a discretionary account that has no other money job comes out of that. So no bills or anything. And I usually get them to have that refresh every single week. So even if you paid fortnightly, monthly, say it's $50 or $100, that goes in, it tops up every single week. So you only have to think of like the 7 days in advance. Like, oh no, I'm going out with my girlfriends for dinner, so I'm not going to do that. It's just so you can prioritize it and see it clearly and have like that transparency. But yeah, money is a tool to be enjoyed, but future you also wants to enjoy it. And I think that we need to make sure the things that we do today aren't going to stuff that person up, right? Like, I think that, like, if we think back, right, this is probably the easiest way to think of it. I am kicking myself that I didn't buy 3 investment properties and start investing in shares when I was 18. If I knew what I knew now, right? And I've just turned 40. So we're always going to look back and go, I wish I just did that earlier, or I wish I just started that. So you in 5, 10, 20 years is going to wish that you right now got your shit sorted. Okay. Oh, sorry. I probably can't swear.
No, but I think that's pretty much it. And but it's quite the trend, really, like these small discretional.
It builds up.
Very purchases, I should say. Like even Kmart's having to redo its stores, to counter the whole competition from Chinese retailers. A lot of them are configured now, the online space. It's not just that you go on and you buy something and you put in your cart. It's really like gamification. Spin the wheel, yes. Get these things free, hurry while stocks are last. It's highly addictive.
It absolutely is. And you need to be aware of how your brain works and what you're more susceptible to, because, and then you can find the trick of what you do. So with some clients, like we talk about it as a toolbox. So I'm never going to say to somebody, this is how you need to do something, because that might not actually resonate with them. So we usually kind of dig into this toolbox, and it might be that so one of the things I do is I always shop from a list. So if I know that I'm going to the shops, I'll have a list, and it'll be like, oh, you wanted like a black singlet, or you wanted this or that, and it's not saying where I'm getting it from, but if I'm just walking around, I'll just be like, oh yeah, I was looking for that, for my wardrobe. So I love shopping with a list, even when I'm just kind of like window shopping. Some other people, what works for them is, say you're about to just make a $5 or $20 purchase. It's something at Kmart that you don't need. You stop yourself and you go, actually, say you've got a holiday coming up. What could I do with that $5 on this holiday, or that $20? And right then in the shop, you transfer the money over to the Bali fund.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. So I'm like, would I prefer this t-shirt that I'm going to wear once and it's not going to wash well, or would I prefer to have a cocktail at a bar when I go on this holiday with my girlfriends or whatever. So, and then you literally transfer the money over. And what I find that does is, because when we tap and we purchase something, we got a little dopamine hit because we're like, oh, a little reward. But if you've literally just transferred money over, you will hopefully get a little reward, signal in your brain, because you've made an action and you've put something. So that's another one that I absolutely love.
I like that so much. I used to do something similar when I was paying off my mortgage. I would sort of go, oh, yeah, I don't want that coffee. It's standing in line now. I've decided not to, and transfer the money across. But my husband is a mad keen cruiser. In fact, we've got a cruise from Honolulu back to Sydney coming up fairly soon. And my in-laws are mad keen cruisers. And I think that's something that might encourage him. He's actually more frugal than me, believe it or not. I'm the spender and I'm frugal. But I think that's something he might relate to, actually. And these days, a lot of the neobanks are really good with having a whole lot of additional high savings accounts. They're,
yes,
very
you can have
visual.
Your different buckets and things, and lots of rewards like roundups and different things. So there are these places that are trying to make us spend, but there are systems and businesses and banks that are helping us kind of, are giving us solutions on how we can kind of counteract that as well. So you just have to find what works for you. And this is what the money reset's like all about. It's just because you've always managed your bank accounts this way or always done it this way doesn't mean that you can't unlearn that behavior and try something different. So this is what we need to do with our spending, how we how we manage our bank accounts. Just because you've been had a Dolomite account from when you were 5 doesn't mean that bank now suits you. You need to reset and really question why we do the things that we do.
Well said. Now, I have one final question for you. I know the time's gone so quickly. Do you have a Frugalista tip to share?
I do. So I have one that so this is what I do personally. I would say that I'm pretty frugal. I don't like spending. I don't like partying with my money, but I love a bargain. So if I'm going to buy something, I will always look like Facebook Marketplace first. Absolutely love a marketplace bargain, and anything that I don't use, I love to sell on there as well. So I'm big on. Used to be Gumtree back in the day, but now Marketplace is one of my favorites. But another thing that my girlfriends and I do, and we started, there was 5 of us maybe in this Facebook group. You could do a group chat, you could do WhatsApp, whatever. But there was about 5 of us, and now it's about 35. And we call it the communal closet. And so anytime somebody's like, I need this one-off outfit, or it might be, oh, my friend's wedding's coming up and I need a dress, and people will then just put, hey, I've got this, you could try this, you could try that. And of course, if you don't want to share an item, you just wouldn't mention that you've got it. And so even some of the girls will go, hey, I'm doing a Salvo's run, this is all the stuff in here, let me know if anyone wants it. So we call it the communal closet, but yeah, it's 30 odd of us now because girlfriends will just invite their other friends in. And yeah, sometimes girls will put in if they want to sell something, but mainly it's just, let's not keep buying outfits that we wear once.
I love that so much. I've been doing clothes swaps for ages. In fact, I had one last weekend and I've got one coming up this weekend. These two are not ones I've organised, but that's even more specific because often the things we want are one-off things going on a cruise. There we go again. Or going to a formal outfit. Yes. You've got a ball or, something very specific, for once only.
And I'm always, green today, but I'm always in black. I'm a black t-shirt, black shorts kind of person. So if I have an event coming up, I don't want to buy a floral dress that I will wear once and never again. So absolutely Marketplace, or I'll try and borrow. And at the moment, for example, I had a whole heap of corporate, because I was always corporate finance, so I've got some beautiful corporate dresses Q and really good quality ones. They don't fit me at the moment, and they don't I don't go anywhere corporate, so I've just lent them all out to people in this group, and I was just like, please just enjoy them. I don't want to sell them or send them to the salvos or anything, because I hope one day I'll get back into that size, and I will probably have an event at some point. But I'm in the meantime, you guys enjoy them. So yeah, it's frugal and community closet is my tip.
I love that. So thank you, Gemma, so much for being my guest. So your book, The Money Reset, is out now, so available at all good bookstores and online. And Gemma, where can people reach you?
So I am a millennial, so I am most active on Instagram. Definitely not TikTok. Not great on Facebook unless I'm in scrolling marketplace. So my Instagram is gemmamitchell.finance. My website is gemmamitchell.com.au. But yeah, mainly over at Instagram. Book is, I'm loving people sending me pictures of seeing it in bookshops. So yeah, you can get it most places and Amazon as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.